If you have a Sony camera, then you should really consider powering it off USB-C. And if you want to go down the Vlog route, well, this might be the best affordable option. Hello, my name is Jonathan Palfrey. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe as always, as it massively helps me out. Now today I really want to talk to you about the advantages of powering your Sony camera off USB-C, and specifically using an affordable Vlog option like this ZGCine 50 watt-hour battery. Now for full disclosure, they did send me this battery to test and review, but there were no promises on what I would say or whether I would even actually deliver a review at all. So if you haven't seen this battery online already on places like Amazon and everything, it could be a really good alternative to the more expensive and the ones I much love, FX3 Vlog batteries. These are absolutely awesome, but this is basically offering and promising the same things for a more affordable price, in fact with a few extra features. So before we get into why this specific battery might be a good option for yourself, why should you consider a Vlog battery to power your Sony camera over, say, a power bank? After all, power banks are much cheaper. Well, the main thing really is just rigging options and also power output options. Yes, the battery banks are cheap, but they're really hard to attach to your camera. You have to either use some sort of weird cage clamp or Velcro, and it just looks a bit messy and not really that ideal. Also, yes, you might have multiple USB outs, but you can't power things like monitors from DTAP or wireless transmitters and other features like that. Vlogs are really great. They're a long-term option. If you say upgrade to a larger camera system in the future, they'll also use these. Also, a lot of lights out there are also using Vlog to be able to power them. So going down the Vlog route can be a very sensible option just to keep your whole battery system as simple as possible. One thing I love about Vlogs like the ZGCine battery here is the fact that they can be charged off USB-C. Now, not all Vlogs can do this, and it's becoming more common, which is great to see, especially as more cameras have the option to be powered off USB-C, but just being able to not only output USB-C power, but also to input into the battery. It means you don't have to have any special charger to be able to charge these batteries. Just plug them into a standard USB-C power delivery charger, such as the one that you use with your Mac, and you can quickly charge these batteries up, which just gives you plenty of options when you're traveling to know you can charge pretty much anywhere, and that you're going to have a charger on you that's going to be able to charge up your camera batteries. As I've mentioned already, as well as USB-C, this also has a DTAP connection, which is obviously very common on these Vlog batteries. It's really nice actually, they've made it bright orange as well. A common issue that people can have with DTAP is they can actually plug it in the wrong way, and that can cause all sorts of issues. It can completely brick your camera equipment if you're not careful. So the fact that it's actually bright orange, which I presume is just for their branding, but actually it's really useful to see as well. A lot of Vlogs will just have a black one and it's hard to see in the dark that you're plugging in the right direction, whereas this, it's nice and clear thanks to that orange connector right there. You've also got a standard USB-A plug as well as of course, your 45 watt USB-C, which is handy for, say, charging up your mobile phone or even smaller accessories like a follow focus, for example. And what's an additional thing on this, what I haven't seen on other batteries, is there's also a DC output as well. You could potentially power things like a monitor using the DC output there, which is just nice to have that additional output on the battery itself and not just on the rig that you're setting up on. Now, one mistake I made with this battery when I first picked it up was the fact that I thought it was draining overnight, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I actually contacted them saying, I think I may have a faulty battery. It turns out, no, that was my mistake. I'm sorry, but this might be a thing that you might make the mistake as well if you buy this battery. There's actually an on-off switch on the back, on the side here. So quite unusual for these kind of batteries. You actually can turn it on and off, which can be quite good because sometimes the automatic turning on and off with other Vlogs doesn't always quite work, and you find that you may get some battery drain accidentally, or that you find that actually it's not powering your device as expected. With this, it's nice and clear. You know when you've actually turned on the battery and when you've turned it off. Now, of course, there would have to be some compromises to make it such an affordable battery, and I guess that comes with the battery life and maybe the size to some degree. It is a little bit bigger than the equivalent battery from FX3 with their Nano One. As you can see, it's just a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger. It's much smaller still than the large Vlogs of the past. The build quality is a bit of a cheaper plastic. It doesn't feel maybe quite as rugged, and it's a slightly more slippery plastic. But really, I think it would hold up absolutely fine on most people's rigs. I don't expect this thing to fall apart anytime soon. So why should you use this battery for your Sony camera rig? Well, the most obvious one is the crazy battery life you're going to get by using this instead of just the internal batteries that you use normally with your Sony cameras. Those batteries are great, and actually you get fairly good battery life out of them considering how small they are. But you do need several to get through an entire day, which means at the end of the day, you've got lots of batteries that you need to charge. There are some solutions out there and they can be great options as well. But if you know you're going to be doing lots of long form shooting where maybe you might not be able to switch batteries in the space of 2 hours, so you're doing a conference like I was doing the other day, and you really need that extended battery life, then this becomes a really great option. This battery, when I tested it yesterday, I couldn't believe how long this would go on for. It kept going for 4.5 hours before it ran out. So it kept the battery topped up inside the camera as well. So you still had then another 1.5 hours, obviously from the internal battery. So you could potentially get 6 hours out of a battery inside the camera, and with this one on the back on a V-Lock mount. That is absolutely incredible. Now that was recording continuously, which I think is way more than most people would ever do with this sort of setup. In reality, you're going to be turning the camera off, you're going to be starting up again, so you could easily last a whole day of shooting without a problem. Now that was just the camera being powered, it wasn't including a monitor as well, so obviously that would reduce the length of time that you'll be able to get out of this battery system. But even then, I still think for most people on most shoots, you probably get a whole day out of this V-Lock battery with your Sony camera and monitor. Now, of course, you could use a dummy battery into the camera instead of using USB-C. However, I would recommend against going down that route for two really big reasons. First off, it means you don't have backup power in the camera. So if the cable were to come loose for any reason, then your power would just cut off, which for me is just a bit too risky. I don't like having things where things could just cut off like that. I like having that sort of protection of an internal memory card and an internal battery as well. By having that internal battery, it means you can then do a hot swap. If you did manage to run out this battery, you could literally take this off and carry on shooting and put another one on, which is a big, big advantage. It also means it keeps the battery topped up, ready to go inside the camera as well. So say you want to switch to your gimbal suddenly, you could literally de-rig it quickly from your camera rig, which I'll do a whole video on in the future about how to create a rig that can be quickly swapped in and swapped out. But you can quickly do that, and then suddenly now you've got a full topped up internal battery for doing your gimbal stuff before returning to your tripod and connecting back up to the V-Lock battery via USB-C. Another great reason to use USB-C is the fact that you can charge anywhere. I touched on this earlier when talking about this battery specifically, but just generally USB-C is such a great option for powering cameras and batteries. I think it should be the way you should always aim to go. They charge super quick and you can get chargers anywhere. Even if the charger that you have on you breaks and dies and you need to get another one, if you're going through an airport, for example, or pretty much anywhere, you're probably going to be able to pick up a USB-C charger. You're certainly not going to find a Sony charger for your camera anywhere. You have to go to a specific camera store and hope that they've got one in stock. Whereas with USB-C chargers, they are so accessible, it means that you've got that safety net that you can go and pick one up even if the worst case happened. Also, as I mentioned earlier, as well as less batteries needing to charge for your camera, it means also less variety of batteries that you need to charge as well. If you've got this set up on a rig and it's powering your monitor and your camera and wireless transmitter and anything else, then that means suddenly one battery or one battery system is all you're going to need to power everything. And it just saves a ton of time when it comes to charging in the evening. Finally, another great reason to go down the V-Lock USB-C route with batteries like this is the fact you can power your laptop off this thing as well. It's got 45 watts of output, which is enough for a lot of MacBooks. You may find that if you're doing heavy editing or anything, it is going to drain and it's going to reduce down quicker than what this can charge up. But certainly for topping up and just giving some extra battery life to your MacBook is amazing. So there you go. That's why you should really consider powering your camera off USB-C using a V-Lock battery such as the ZGCine battery that I've got here. It does a great job for a really affordable price and well worth considering as a V-Lock option for your rig. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe as it will massively help me out. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.